Hello, everybody, and welcome to yet another night of Bungalows for Bachelors Late Night Learning. I hope you're excited to learn about fires today and how you can stay safe, because I like to stay safe, and everyone should stay safe. That's what we're all here to do, is we're here to be safe and not take any risks in life. Just kidding. That's a terrible thing to say. That's not true at all. But what is true is that the Green Observer himself is, one, in the chat, and two, makes some bomb beats. So if you want to get your bomb beats, check out Green Observer. He's got a link in the description. Hit the button. It'll take you straight to his channel, and you can learn how to get good beats from Mr. Green Observer. So here he is. Do it. That's right. Like that smash button. Thank you, Will and Mr. Green Observer, for showing up and learning about fires. I'm glad to have you both here. Now, if you want to learn more about construction and you want to be part of the empire that is Bungalows for Bachelors and Stevenson Integrated Designs and this whole world of construction knowledge and learning that we are building here together, then you should be joining the Telegram. Go to t.me / not / BFB success. That is success spelled with the number of letters and things that need to be in the word success in order to spell it correctly. Successfully, you could say. BFB success. And you will join the Telegram group by sending that link to the uniform resource locator thing at the top of your web browser button thingy. And that's how you can join the Telegram. We got a good group of people in there, some valuable, hardworking, smart, intelligent people that are all in line with getting better. And that's what we're here to do. So if you want to check out my general body of work, you can just go to linktree / Samuel D. Stevenson with a V. And it's got everything in there. It's got Stevenson Integrated Design. It's got Samuel Stevenson podcast. It's got Brothers Two of Them podcast. It's got Bungalows for Bachelors Telegram. It's got YouTube channels. It's got, you name it. If you want to donate cryptocurrency to me, that's where you can find my Pulse address. That is thesam.pls.fyi. It's all in there. Just go to Linktree. Now, thank you, Will, for throwing that in the chat. I appreciate it, good sir. So, I'm working on coming out with some hot stuff. I'm getting to the point where things are really busy. Things are popping here, and I'm trying to balance the popping with the producing. And so we got some good stuff cooking. I'm going to have some better condensed information with a little more energy pumped into the videos and good stuff. It's not going to be me sitting there at a PowerPoint just telling you about like what you could probably do with this piece of wood and that piece of wood. It's nothing like that. It's going to be full of excitement, energy, and hands are going to be flying everywhere. And Mr. Pumpkin might go flying across the screen. Who knows? But it's going to be good stuff. So check it out there. I'm going to come out with the home design program so you guys can get some hands on some good software and take care of design on your own. And of course, the condensed home building program for those who don't want to watch the program that sounds like this, where I didn't really know what I was doing, didn't know how to market to people. And no, we're done with that. We don't want to do that stuff again. So not again, for the first time ever before, the world has a cryptocurrency that is the world's first blockchain certificate of deposit. If you know what a certificate of deposit is and you don't know what Hex is, then you just go to hex.com or go to anything else. There's a link in the description on how to learn more, and you could build your first decentralized financial future all on your own. So check it out. Now, there's one more thing I need to plug in here, and that's that the Brothers Two of Them cookbook is complete. It is done. We are now accepting pre-orders. If you would like to send, I didn't put a link in the thing. If you can hit me up on Telegram. Just go to the BFB Success Telegram or whatever. There's a million ways you can get in contact with me in the link tree and stuff. So you'll figure it out if you're halfway intelligent. But yeah, if you want to make a pre-order, we'll set a pre-order number for like $30. There's going to be 100 copies that we're going to make. They're going to be hard copies. They're going to be hand signed, and we will mail them to you or deliver them to you, however we need to do it. But we'll do $30 down. And whatever is left over at the end, we'll just send right back to you, because we're not here to make money. We're here to get you guys cooking fire food just like these tower climbers do. So that is what we're about. Now, how frequent are house fires, people? You showed up here today because, you're concerned with the safety and welfare of the public. I have no doubt that's the reason. And so house fires are a thing that happen. Okay. Now in America, I believe the number was something a little less than 3,000 a year people die from a house fire. And that's no good because people dying is generally not good until they're like old. Then it's okay. But um, I don't know how many of those 3,000 deaths were old people, and that would like make them more okay. But still, we don't want house fires to kill people. So the purpose of like buildings and fire safety stuff built into like houses is not to save your building. We don't care about the buildings. What we design buildings to do is we design buildings to have blocked passageways and sheetrock and fire code, this, that, and the other, so that we delay the spread of the fire if the fire gets out of control, so that fire department can show up, maybe put it out, maybe save some of the stuff in your house, but it should give you enough time to like realize that there's a problem. Smoke alarms can go off and you can get out of the house and not die like the 3,000 other people that didn't, unfortunately, make that successful endeavor. So that's like how we design fire safety. So when we keep in mind fire safety, we're not talking about how to like fireproof your home. No one cares about that. We just care about how we delay the fire. So what are some of the materials that we have in like regular residential uses for fire safety? Well, most of the time you're going to be using sheetrock on your walls. You're going to be using blocking inside your walls. That's just wood, right? You can use wood for that. Wood is consumed in fire, yes. But if you use like a regular 2x nominal piece of wood, the fire can blaze away at the piece of wood for 1 hour, so they say, before it consumes through the wood and passes through the rest of your house. So the whole idea is we delay everything by 1 hour and we're somewhat safe. So we got wood, we got gypsum board, the sheetrock. There's like fiberglass type panels that's getting into more commercial stuff. Concrete, of course, is very fireproof. There's any number of things that are materials that you could use to fireproof your home, but generally that's going to be it. Now, I'm going to be dropping a special picture, actually, of a really cool building that I saw. It had just been framed, and the sheeting, it's just been sheeted. So it had OSB and plywood everywhere, and there was OSB on the roof, and it was a fourplex, a big fourplex building. And what was cool about it in the photo was that you can tell that the OSB they used on the roof, where the firewalls are, and I'll tell you about the firewalls in a second, where the firewalls were, you could see that OSB had like some kind of coating. It was like fiberglass impregnated. I don't know what the material was, but it was a more fire resistance material because you don't want fire to spread from one unit to another. And we'll talk about firewalls in a second, but that was really cool. So I'm going to post that photo in the Telegram after I'm done with this stream, and you're going to get to see it. And it's going to be cool. So if you want to see it, join the Telegram. Pretty cool. t.me/BFP success. Hit the link that will post it here. Now, we got all these materials and stuff to make buildings safer from fires, but what we don't necessarily talk about is external fire safety. And you're like, well, how am I gonna lit my building on fire from the outside? That doesn't make any sense. And most of the fires that are happening in your home, actually, most of the fires that take down homes are from the inside. So the outside thing is like, what are the odds? But if you happen to cook in your home, it's a dangerous activity, and you should be very careful not to accidentally catch things on fire. That is I think, number one cause of house fires. Now, the other causes are things between heating equipment, like I got a portable heater on the floor in my carpeted room, like a ceramic heater or whatever, and I like knocked it over and fell onto my like plasticky fibers that like to, make a fire. Could be candles, it's an open flame. So like, it could touch something or hit a piece of paper or whatever. Electrical systems, like the actual wiring in the house, or if you've got an extension cord or something that's being overloaded, or a plug like barely not plugged in properly, any number of things can actually go wrong with your electrical system in your house. And what else we got here? Oh, smoking. Yeah, if you're a smoker, hello, Mr. Pumpkin. If you're a smoker, then cigarettes and cigars and whatever, like obviously it's a hot object. It's in your hand. If you don't put it out properly or whatever, it can smolder, and the smoldering is what causes things to like spread and slowly like catch on fire. So unfortunately for us who are fans of Mr. St. Nicholas, there is a disadvantage to using a Christmas tree, and that is that it might catch your house on fire. So that is another cause. And of course, the one that we all have to watch out for, boys, girls, ducks, and chocolate bars, all of us, we have to watch out for the crazy ex-girlfriends, because one of the worst likelihoods of having arsony done to yourself is the crazy ex-girlfriend. So don't get any of those. You know, if they're crazy, you can let them remain as your girlfriend, or or just don't date them. There's any number of things you could do, but just don't get a crazy ex-girlfriend and you should be okay. So those are the causes, right? From the interior fires. But what about the exterior? Let's talk a little bit about that. So we're going to get a little bit political here, and I'm going to lean back in my chair because I'm going to change the body language a little bit and get a little more emotional for you guys. So development, money, subdivisions, investors. What are these things bringing to mind, right? These are places where people like to make a lot of money, make a lot of real estate investments, do this kind of thing. I have very real experience with this industry, at least in one particular location. And it's a very consistent thing for an investor to want to make money. Investors like to make money. And so if the investor is focusing his decisions on the money, what he's going to do is he's going to make decisions that are going to maximize the money, and they're going to minimize everything else pretty much, whether it's structural reliability or safety or usability or like whatever. And if they're kind of a more broadened, experienced investor, they're going to care about some things that like people like that are going to be good marketing points. Like the driveway's 6 feet wide and you have a car, you got to get your car in the driveway. Like they're not going to do that because like they want to market it well. So there's going to be a mix, but most of the time they're going to be concerned about the money. Now, that is expressed by maximizing quantity. When you are doing real estate, like construction investments, the more stuff you can get in one space, the higher the density. And like you want density of doors or density of units, right? So if you're going to have a subdivision and you can fit a bunch of duplexes on it and maybe like one apartment building in the back, or like a bunch, like you're just mixing up a bunch of stuff, right? It's an investment property. If you're going to build that, if you want maximum like money per dollar you're spending, you're just going to do as big of buildings as you can and as small of rooms as you can to like get more people in, because more people in is more units, and more units is just ends up being more money in the long run. Now, when people are doing this and they're investing and they're doing all this stuff, they may or may not even have the land that they're doing this for. And so you got to think about all these things from the perspective of like planning with a site plan. What can I do on this land? What can I not? And that's where like an investor will usually get an engineer, and the engineer will say, okay, I'll do a bunch of research for you for a price, and I'll give you this, there's a word for it. What's the word? Some kind of like, basically it's a package of information that the engineers go through, and they look at the land history, they look at the utility availability, they look at the like grading, they look at the ground type, they look at all kinds of stuff, and they prepare this package of information to the investor, and they say, hey, Mr. Investor, this is something that like, if you're looking to buy this and make this your investment property, here's all the stuff you're going to run into, and like, there's any range of opinion of probable cost, something like that, right? And so the engineers can help give all this information to the investor to be like, your roads are probably going to cost about this much, and that comes from experience and knowing contractors and knowing utilities and costs, all that stuff like that. But basically, that information is get past the investor. The investor is going to look at it and they'll be like, gee, that's a lot of money. I don't want to spend that much money. But if I have to spend that much money anyway, I might as well maximize the return. And so let's just squeeze as much stuff onto the side as we can. And so they're going to either have an architect, or they're going to have someone who can draw, an engineer or whatever, and they're going to create the site plan. Now, the site plan is where they're going to be showing the roads, sidewalks, driveways, house footprints, all these things. And that's where they're going to, I promise this is related to fire. And that's where they're going to be deciding how much can we fit in one space. And that turns into how close can we put our buildings together. Because if you're trying to maximize the money, then you want to minimize the amount of exterior wall because exterior wall costs money. Siding, stone, brick, insulation, you name it. Exterior walls cost money. And if I can put that stuff in if I can condense it, right, and put it all into one big box, then overall I'm getting more square footage for cheaper because it's all contained in a big box. So a poor example of a investment, at least from the cost perspective, would be you're going to make a whole bunch of little individual tiny houses on one piece of property because you're going to pay for individual roof and soffit and siding and like all this other stuff, and so it just ends up being more expensive. Now, that said, that comes into fire safety because investors motivated with the money to do the project and wants to get maximum return. And so they're going to try to push the buildings as close together as possible. And we have codes to stop them from doing stuff like keeping the houses 1 foot apart, right? There are codes in place because basically a bunch of people got together and agreed that you probably shouldn't put houses a foot apart because it's going to be really hard to install the siding. It's going to be a fire hazard because if one building catches on fire, the flames can propagate over real easy to the other building. It doesn't make a lot of sense from landscaping because what are you going to put in there? You can't even mow it because you've got a foot of space. It's just the codes exist to guide this process. So typically the investor runs into building side setbacks. And depending on who the investors know at the city or whoever's making the rules, if it's a really big project with a lot of money, that's going to bring a lot of money to the area, hence flowing money into the city, not just from paying all the ridiculous permitting fees and platting fees and ridiculous approvals and stuff just to get the thing built. But now there's going to be a whole bunch of people living there and people pay taxes and the taxes go partially to the local government. So one could say that the government is incentivized to let the investors kind of do whatever they need to make the project worth it to them to invest the money. And on the other side, there's the public safety, health and welfare of the public safety, health and the welfare so that the public is safe and welfare. But we like taxes and we like making money and stuff. So you can see that there's this, debacle that they got to figure out. So they make some rules and basically they say to most people, hey, you got to follow the rules. And then to some people it's that's fine. We'll let it go. Tell you what, write a variance letter, type up a variance letter requesting why you'd like this to happen and pay us a fee. So we have to look at the variance because we got to read the variance letter. So that's at least worth not $900 to thousands of dollars, which, we got to read the thing. Okay. We're here to make money, guys. Come on. So they got to read the letter and you give the letter to them and they say, well, it'd be a waste of time for me to read this letter. So let's just let them do it. And that's how that goes. So exterior fire safety of buildings. I've seen this process happen. Generally, hardy is considered pretty fire safe. And so people like hardy. Now, some companies make lots of expensive materials that are super fireproof and yada, yada, yada. Obviously, stone, masonry, very fireproof. Not going to have any problems. But the real trick is the soffits of your roof and your fascia board and your material. Because that's a weak spot. The shingles can handle a lot of heat, sort of. The walls can handle heat, but all the heat's going to go up. It's going to go straight into that soffit. And so if you have a soffit, it's going to try to combust any stuff that's going on up there. And that's just a weak spot. So, basically investors will sometimes play games where hey, I'll use a different siding product if you let me put my buildings 5 feet apart or 4 feet apart or something like that. And the funniest thing is to go around town and especially if you're involved with this process and you're a normal person reading the rules and you're well, I guess I'm not allowed to do this. My buildings have to be 10 feet apart. And so this is what I'm going to do. And that's going to just overall make me net me less money for my investment, but whatever. And you're driving through the subdivisions and you see this new one going up where the foundations are only 4 feet apart. And you're who did that one? Because I should know that guy. I want to find out who that guy is. That's what you should do. You shouldn't freak out. You should just go figure out who solved that problem and then solve the problem the way they did. So subdivisions, money, and development, guys. That's how that's related to fire safety. And you don't want your neighbor's house, if it catches on fire, to catch yours on fire. Typically regular residential single family lots are going to have like a 10-foot side setback or like at least a 5-foot side setback. So the buildings are 10 feet apart. That typically ends up being like pretty standard for safety. And a lot of those codes come from the fire code. I have not read the whole fire code. I only like picked out pieces that I needed to know to solve a problem at the time. But like, yeah. So, if you have any questions about fire, feel free to shoot them in the chat. Otherwise, that's pretty much it. Just generally like don't do dumb stuff. And if you happen to want to try to build something, there's going to be things about like fire safety that are going to probably like trip you up along the way a little bit. Like, stuff like when you're framing before you sheetrocked and all your framing's exposed and you have a hole for your plumbing thing, you got to like fire foam that hole. Don't just use regular foam, use a fire resistant foam. So like just little stuff like that. But that said, that's pretty much it, peoples. I hope you've learned something. This has been a good, safe show so you can learn about safety. I appreciate you guys coming to the chat. We got Will and we got the Green Observer. Appreciate y'all. You guys have a blessed Merry Christmas. And don't get any crazy girlfriends. If you want to join the BFB Telegram, t.me/BFB success. It's a great place for lots of people to go and learn things. So thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it. I'm even going to add my brand up here so you can, know what letters are what so that you're not confused between SID and BFB. I'll see y'all on the next one next week, and we'll learn some more good stuff. I appreciate you guys. Bye-bye.